And just like that, it's over. Like a fart in the wind. Just like that, the illusion has been broken, the spell has been destroyed, it's over, essentially. We all know the truth. We all know the actual numbers. We all know what happened. But we need to talk about it. The narrative when Valve Steam Deck came out was that this was a major competitor to the Nintendo Switch. This had stomped the console in relevancy and power with its vast array of great games on Steam. And not only was the Steam Deck so out there, outperforming the Switch, it had competitors. Ooh, it had the ROG Ally, and it had I don't even know what else. There were so many copycats. Clearly Nintendo was done. Clearly Nintendo couldn't compete. And what happens? The Nintendo Switch 2 gets announced, and suddenly we get word from the industry that all of these Steam Deck knockoffs combined have sold a grand total of 6 million units. Valve, ROG, that other thing, the Lenovo, all of them combined have sold a total of 6 million units. Less than Nintendo Wii U. With all of their powers combined, they become Captain Flop. From the piece of hardware that was supposed to be the Switch killer. Now, this needs to be brought up because the reason they're admitting this now is because they know that with the Switch 2 coming out, they won't be able to keep up the facade and pretend that these things have any real audience. The Switch 2 is going to demolish that pathetic, small, minuscule number immediately. It's unbelievable. This 6 million. After all of that hype, all of that, bigger than the iPhone, it's unbelievable to me. Unbelievable to me that a product that was set up this much would fall this hard. But with the Switch 2 coming out, it's going to be harder and harder to keep up this narrative that Nintendo is not relevant or that nobody talks about them, because that's not true, right? Time Magazine is doing articles about Mario's 40th anniversary, right? The Switch 2 is getting a direct in April, right? We're getting a Pokemon presentation today in half an hour, right? As I record this, you're going to tell me that the Steam Deck is going to outperform Pokemon. There are probably versions of Pokemon Gen 10 that will sell more than all of those pieces of hardware combined. There are probably Pokemon Amiibo that sell more than 6 million units, right? You're telling me that the Steam Deck is going to outperform Pokemon. I wouldn't be surprised if this presentation gets more views than that gets sales. But the Switch 2 reveal did. It's just I'm just kind of just baffled by the reality of the situation. And I'm the person that was calling this out from the beginning. I was talking about how the numbers didn't make any sense and how Valve was faking their sales numbers on the sales charts, and how nobody outside of an extremely niche, dedicated audience that needed to downplay Nintendo was really all that interested or enthusiastic about this hardware to begin with. I was talking about that. Even I am kind of shocked by these numbers, right? And this is the reality of the situation, is that nobody can come in and just sell more than Nintendo. Those days are over, okay? Sony was able to do it by blowing a ton of money back in the 90s, but it's not viable anymore. It's not viable anymore. And they were never able to even really outperformed Nintendo as a whole because of the handheld division, right? Like, what exactly are modern hardware manufacturers going to do to compete with Nintendo? You know, when I look at Demish and like when I see him like, oh man, look at this emulator, like this Chinese thing I bought, like I'm just like, that's the fifth one you've shown off on this channel this week. You know, like if this hardware was so reliable, if it was so good, if it has so many great games, why are you not just sticking to that hardware? And the answer is that it's cheap, it's disposable, it breaks easily. It's just an inferior alternative to what you can get on the Switch. And that is the realization that a lot of people have come to over the past 20 years, is that these other products are not on the same level of quality as Nintendo's brand. And that is going to lead to the Switch 2 to be an extremely well received, popular piece of hardware right out of the gate, all while the Valve Steam Deck just languishes in obscurity. Like, this thing has been forgotten. I've talked about this like a lot in the past, but like it's like the power world of like gaming hardware. Like, you don't see anybody talk about it unless they're trying to downplay Nintendo Switch. You know, outside of that context, nobody really cares because this thing had no reason to exist. You know, it didn't do anything new or interesting. Like, the technology wasn't interesting. PC gamers could just play on their PCs. You know, like, why exactly was I supposed to be excited about the deck? And the answer is there was no real reason besides it's Valve, you know? Like, aside from this idea that, like, Valve's gonna be the savior of gaming, Valve hasn't saved shit. You know, all they've done was prolong the death of, like, PC gaming for, like, another 20 years. You know, like, PC gaming is really something that should have died back in the 90s, right? The Xbox took everything that a gaming PC could do, made it more affordable, and gave it a better control scheme, right? Like, the original Xbox killed PC gaming. The only thing keeping it alive now is porn and Valve's weird militant fanboys who still genuinely try and gaslight themselves into thinking that like Half-Life 3 is in development. Like, imagine waiting 20 years to find out whether like how Gordon Freeman beats the combat. Like, who can, like, I should have played Half-Life 3 in 2007. Okay, that's kind of my mindset on that. That is, I can't imagine waiting that long for a follow-up of a game without moving on, without losing faith in the creators, without losing faith. Like, the reality of the situation is, PC gaming has been on the decline for a long time, which is why Valve constantly keeps trying to put out this mediocre hardware, desperate to try and infiltrate the console space, only to fail each and every time. They don't have the capability to produce hardware that's going to compete in the market space. It's not reliable enough. It doesn't innovate enough. It's not recognizable enough. Nobody wants to see this. And I I do think this really needs to be like shoved down some people's throats. Valve is not a very good hardware developer. They are not good at developing software. Are they? All they are at this stage is Walmart. You know, they are a Walmart where you can go in and buy cheap disposable products on that are easily accessible, that you can just download like on the spot. Like, it is the video game equivalent of Walmart, you know, as opposed to like Nintendo offering like a premium service that caters to like all manner of sophisticated, intelligent, you know, like just a higher quality of people. Like, Steam is Walmart. You know, the trashiest, most broke, like just ignorant, just the scum of the gaming community. And we really do need to start addressing this. We really do need to start talking about how PC gamers like are put Valve on a pedestal, that they don't develop anything of value, and that they will never ever compete with the big boys in the console space. Forget beating Nintendo, because I haven't been talking about Nintendo a lot in this video. Like Valve couldn't even compete with PlayStation and Xbox. They couldn't even compete with the Nokia N-Gage. That is how irrelevant Valve really is.